Alright, hey guys. It's Evan, and I just wanted to upload the first of my Create tutorials that I'm going to be uploading for the Create mod pack that's coming up soon, just as, as like a kind of beginner's guide to stuff without having to look up, like, hour-long videos. And I just wanted to, the first thing I wanted to do was talk to you today about schematics. And schematics are, here, let me just go ahead and clear my inventory. Schematics are a super cool component of Create that allows for easy building as well as easy building between worlds, as well as trading for different machines that you create. Just in case you're not interested in running like a train schedule and like shipping out materials and stuff, you could like way upcharge and trade off a schematic so that someone could build their own particular machine that could do the same thing as your own machines. So, and you might be able to make a lot of profit off that, depending on whatever it is you want, enchantments or ores or, whatever may have you. But, so I have this basic little mechanism here. It's a simple machine that shows the ability to take something with a small stress capacity and use it to gain a larger stress capacity out of it. So I just have a simple water wheel to steam engine setup. And let's say I want to copy it and put it somewhere else. Maybe I want to make a duplicate. Maybe I want to actually sell the blueprint for the machine itself for something Personally, if I were to trade a machine rather than the resources it provides, I would at least that's got to be 10 times a minimum what it would cost to actually 10 times what I would charge for the actual resources itself. But essentially, there are 4 components you're going to need. You're going to need, I'll just make sure cheats on. You're going to need a schematic cannon, a schematic and quill, an empty schematic, and a schematic table. And I'll run you through the recipes for that now. So the way you build a schematic table, the first thing you're going to want, I'll just go ahead and place it over here. You're going to want 3 slabs of wood, any kind, and then 2 smooth stone. And you'll be able to create a schematic table. Now the schematic table, the way it works, you won't actually see this. You will not see this screen at all up here. There won't be anything. Oh, you might see the screen, but there might not be anything up here for you. But you will see this little space over here and a little check mark button and an output box. That's all you'll see for it. It's going to be important for later because this is what we're going to be using to import our schematics. But the next thing we're going to need, obviously, is the schematic itself. And to craft that, you're going to need a light blue dye and a piece of paper. And when you craft it, you're typically going to want to craft 2, at least for your first time, because you're going to need a schematic craft the schematic and quill. So to craft the schematic and quill, you're going to need an empty schematic as well as a feather. So, and I'm going to talk about the schematic cannon later. But for now, what I want to talk about is the schematic and quill. Hold on, actually. I have to, discard that. Okay, so after crafting your schematic table, you're going to want to craft a schematic, or a second if it's your first time, to craft the schematic and quill. And this is because the schematic and quill, as well as the empty schematic, are the 2 core components that you are going to need in order to create your schematics. So, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your schematic and quill. Now this works similar to superglue, but as of the recent updates to Create, schematics now have, just in case you've already know schematics, it has changed a little bit. We can now see the borders completely. So I'm just going to go over here, and I'm going to set my first point as this block. I'm going to go over here, make sure my blocks line up, and I'm going to set my second position here. Now you can actually be rough with the box because, as I'm about to show you, what you can do is you can actually if you hold your schematic and quill, you can hold down the command button or control if you're on Windows, and you can actually scroll while holding command to pull and push the box in different orientations. So I can just pull this up once and I'm underneath it, so now I'll just push it up. Okay, I didn't do that very well. There we go. And now I fit my entire contraption within it. So I got my create contraption, and it's now highlighted within the box. And I can like look at this face and I can push it back or pull it, or I can go over here and I can push it up or pull it back down. But as long as it's within the boundaries, and you're only really going to want the this, like, whatever you're going to be using. You're not going to want, like, I don't think grass would matter, but you're not going to want, like, whole blocks. No, these aren't in the way because it's not at the border, but I'm just getting them out so I can walk around. But you're not going to want whole blocks or anything, like, in the way. But with that said, the schematic is... This is basically what I want to save to my schematic, so I'll just right-click this, and I see schematic name. So I'm just going to call this tutorial. I'll hit the enter key. I can also just click that check mark box you saw. And what that did is it created a file in your schematics folder in your Minecraft instance, or, like, you know, .minecraft instance if you're using a multi-save launcher like GD Launcher, a multi-MC, or CurseForge, or anything like that. And it created an .mbt file. You might recognize that from Mr. Curryfish's construction mod. I believe, at least. I believe that's what it used. This is very similar. So it creates a file, and that's the main purpose of the schematic and quill. The schematic and quill is actually reusable. You only really need the one. So I could just, like, make an entirely new schematic. I could say, oh, I like this tree. So I'll just make a quick thing there. I'll pull that out. Pull this out. Raise it up by one. Bam. And I'm going to say tree. I can just keep reusing this, even if I'm in survival. The schematic, the empty schematic, however, works a little bit different. So I'm going to take a schematic table, and I'm going to push it down right there. Right-click it. And I'm going to put my empty schematic in there, and I'm going to look at the available schematics. If you only have one schematic, it's just going to be, like, the one schematic. But if you have multiple schematics, you can actually scroll while hovering over this section here. It's alphabetical. So I'm going to go to tutorial.mbt. So I'll click that. It uploads. Bam. I got myself a schematic. Now, there's a couple ways you can use the schematics. You'll see here there's a large area that's already highlighted. So, if I go over here, and I right-click, you'll see a little visual pops up that shows my contraption. Now, this isn't actually here. You'll see because it has no lighting updates. Shouldn't have any lighting updates. It's not animated for any particles. And, most generally, I can walk through this thing. The actual create mechanism is going to be, they will be animated, I assume, just because of compatibility with the mod itself, but it's not programmed to actually animate particles or anything like that. But what you can do when you have a schematic is you can actually mess with it in a few different ways. You can hold Alt, and you can scroll around, and each of these different things alters a different thing about the schematic. Like, so if it's set to move XZ and I hold Control and I scroll, I can move it around on the XZ chord depending on the face I'm looking at. If I go to move Y, I can move it up and down. Position, you can just, like, put it to, like, a new location. Rotate, it's very simple stuff. And mirror is it's a little bit different than rotate because I can, like, flip it in different ways. Right, depending on the face that I look at it on. And what you can do, what I'm going to do is, because I know water is going to spawn, so I'm going to, like, clear some space there. What you can do, if you're in creative, this only works in creative, if you're holding a blueprint, is you can also select print, which just instantly places it down, and bam, it's right there. Now, the reason why it's not moving is because there's no water. So if I just go down like this, I look up water bucket, I can just go that there and there, and then I can go up here, everything's all good, and let me just make sure my pump is all good, that's all good, that's all good, and now it's working. Now it's working. So that's how you do it on a creative world, and you can bring this to different. You can bring this between your own worlds and the server too, which is very, very useful. But outside of that, in survival, it's going to work a little bit different. So the other thing here, hold on, I'm just going to do time set day and general do daylight cycle false. And we're just going to set it to day again, just so it's like perfectly day. Now, the last thing that you're going to want is the schematic cannon. So the schematic cannon is our main tool of using the schematics in a survival world. So I'm going to place down my schematic cannon, and I'm just going to cover the recipe right quick. I believe it is 2 iron blocks, 2 logs, and 2 smooth stone, as well as a dispenser. Now we'll craft a schematic cannon, and there are 4 different menus in the schematic cannon. We're only going to be paying attention to 3. They're not 4 different menus, but there's 4 different categories of the UI. You can see there's like 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. But we're not going to mess around with that. We are going to be paying attention to these 3 though. So, once you have a schematic using the following, you get your schematic in Quill, you make the MBT file, or if like you already have a schematic, you can just like make an empty schematic, go to a table, and like write it to an empty schematic. But you can right-click on a schematic cannon, and you can shift-click it in, and you can see that little change in the UI right around here in the box. Fills in with white dots. And so that's the first step. The next step is gunpowder. This thing works off of gunpowder predominantly. I know there's like this weird little gear-shaped thing, but I'm pretty sure that's just supposed to be a stand. So you don't need to pay attention to that. But, actually, wait, I'm wrong. The first step, is to find a location where you want to build your contraption. So I want to build my contraption here. Let's go into survival so that this is more authentic. So you can see that the print option is no longer there, but I can still like screw around with my schematic and such. But I am going to, once again, go over here, get rid of this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just because I know water's going to spawn there. But, what we're going to do is we're just going to, once our location is set, you can see that it's still there, we can put our schematic in, and it should be loaded, it should be all good. And we're going to want to put gunpowder in the schematic in. Now it takes 5 gunpowder to get to 100%, and it gives 1,999 shots. So, for every 2,000 blocks, basically, give or take 1, you're going to need 5 gunpowder. So, the main thing that you have to worry yourself about at this point is, what blocks am I going to need? So, the only real way to do that is to craft a book, nab it, and then put it up here in your printer, your checklist printer. So I just put it there, and that creates a material checklist. Now, depending on what materials are available to the schematic cannon, it will alter your material checklist. If you, for instance, so it lists grass, so we're not gonna be worried about that. But let me just go into creative really quickly. And the way the schematic cannon works is it pulls things from nearby chests. So I'll get a chest over here. And we're going to need a campfire. We need 4 campfires, a cogwheel, fluid pipe, fluid tank. So I'll just look up fluid. We need 3 fluid pipes. Mechanical pump, we need 2. Now that. Campfires, we need 4. We need 8 fluid tanks and a cogwheel. Fluid tank. Cogwheel. I think we need 3 large cogwheels. I know we need water wheels. We need 2. iron bars. Need 17 of those. I just happen to know the recipe offhand, to be clear. In fact, I should actually demonstrate something, a finer aspect about the material checklist. If I grab another book, put it in. This is actually going to be a little bit different because you'll see that you'll see that like certain like it says iron bars. It's now green, has a check mark. That is because it has all of those materials available to it. So if you ever need a quick update and you're like, okay, I don't want to count everything, make a book, shove it in the schematic cannon. It'll tell you what you have and what you need. So I need a steam engine, 4 shafts, 2 mechanical pumps. So I'll put all that in there and that. I don't really want to double check what I got. So again, perfect use of this. Perfect use of making it another thing. And then the last thing we need is 4 shafts and a steam engine. So shaft, steam engine. Easy. So I'll just slip those into the chest. And then all I have to do is click this plus button. And then my schematic cannon is, albeit kind of slowly, but I mean, there's a little bit of a balance to that because it's survival. So it's like, we don't want instant stuff. And it will slowly begin shooting out the rest. Oh, yeah. Right, the grass. It will slowly begin shooting out the rest of our construction. I guess I got grass in the schematic when I was crafting it there before, which was unfortunate, but should have everything else. Right off the bat, I'll just get started on filling this up with water, so you know that it works immediately. Oh! I was a little bit too late. Okie doke. Did all that, that. All is well. And, okay, that's a little bit bugged. There we go. And the only thing is that certain things will not place. Like, in survival, obviously, there's no water in that cannon, so it did not place the... I screwed that up. I will just grab some andesite. That'll turn that. These arrows are going inward. Last thing I need is a shaft. Shaft. It's here. Alright, right away. You can see that this thing works. Well, you know, right away. But, yeah, that is a quick tutorial on how to use the schematic cannon, how to use schematics, and, yeah. Oh, and if you're curious as to where you can find the schematic files, for whatever reason, if you're going to just, like, share them as files instead of, the actual schematic, which, that has got to be, like, I wouldn't even trade those. But in case someone's crazy enough. You can actually find those in your Minecraft folder, in a separate folder in your root, in the root of your Minecraft folder, named Schematics. But yeah, that's everything you need to know. So if I go over here, that's all finished. Now I have my empty schematic back. My chest is empty. I think I overshot how many large cog wheels I actually needed. Yeah, I only needed 2. But I needed 3. But yeah, that's how you use the schematic and quill, empty schematic, schematic table, and the schematic cannon. Thank you for watching.